lobbying is what we want to discuss. So we had invited a gentleman to come and join us from 7 a.m. throughout the hour up to 8 o'clock. And then the rain invited him to join it in traffic for half of that time. But he's here. Lenny Rashid Ruvaga is the County Director for Change.org Kenya. Good morning, Lenny.
Good morning, gents and ladies. Apologies for being late. The rains.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Kubaya
sana.
Roads are like that.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
As you were coming, you must have heard us talk about the situation on the roads and what we expect is happening. And because we're also seeing the conversation happening on social media. And this is compounded for particularly pedestrians. If you're thinking of walking, you don't have place to. There are no pedestrian walkways, no bus stops that have been constructed to shelter you from the rain. Children going to school, how are they going? All these things. And people keep complaining all the time, which brings us into the conversation that we want to have for the next 20 minutes, which is about people complain, people sign up petitions, and then they die. And now there's Change.org, which is where people sign up petitions. So introduce us to Change.org.
Yeah, thank you so much. So Change.org began in Kenya last year. So we're 1 year old, and we have about 250,000 dedicated users, Kenyans, who use the platform to petition for issues, social issues, justice issues to deal with policy, and so forth. In Africa, we're in Nigeria and South Africa. And globally, we have about 500 million users who use our platform just to advocate for change in the various cadres in society. So that's who we are generally. We are free. We don't charge anything. However, if you are moved philanthropically to just contribute to keep the lights on for the company, to ensure that the technological platform runs as it should be, there are also avenues for that.
Yeah. So why? I guess this question. Why would I go online and sign a petition? Why would I do that when I can go to court or when I can, lobby any other way? Why come up with that?
No, you can go to Jaramogi Oginga Odinga grounds.
Yeah, and disrupt the whole thing and eat. Why should I bother?
Wonderful question. So our mantra is become the change that you want to see, right? We actually, through academic research, also realized that the power of lobbying and advocacy and getting allies with legislatures and decision makers, in whatever level they may be, achieves a lot more than just protesting, which is just a tactic and not an end of itself. So the aspect of actually petitioning from start to finish on a petition cycle achieves more gains to get your issues actually advocated and actually addressed to the particular decision makers.
What's lobbying? This word lobbying, I keep hearing of it. I read about it in the political space in the US. What is lobbying?
Wonderful. So just to operationalize the word, so lobbying in a layman's term is actually just coming together and advocating for a particular issue, definitely to a decision maker, and if it would be a policy maker in that case or a legislature, towards getting that desired idea of victory that you have. For example, potholes, inadequate pathways, inadequate culverts. So in that case, for Change.org, where we come in, you would start a petition. Then we would come and staff it and actually make it more quality, make it more smart, and make the asks more targeted. So that's the one aspect. The second aspect of what we do is we actually empower you to actually have a media campaign towards a particular issue. And then lastly, we ensure that you have a pathway towards that particular decision maker, towards your, and I keep on saying, towards your envisioned idea of victory, because your envisioned idea of victory changes and moves from one situation to the other.
So essentially, you want to influence people who are influential to change their mind in the hope that they will change their behavior.
You've put it succinctly, perfectly. In other words, we
want
want
to charge you for that.
I'll open a tab. So in other words, we are trying to activate citizens and to make citizens more active. However, we want to empower them by showing them that there's a technological platform that has a pathway towards getting you to that particular end of that particular petition cycle. So it's just about empowering citizens and ensuring they're more active and have a more sustainable way of campaigning and addressing their issues.
So in that 1 year that you've been here, can you give us an example of a petition that has been launched and through Change.org there has been action taken?
Thank you for that, Eric. There are numerous petitions on various thematic issues. One key petition that actually achieved victory was the Boda Boda petition, where unfortunately last year around March, a lady was attacked on Pangani Road because she accidentally hit this particular Boda Boda and the pillion driver, and the Boda Boda rogue people came and actually attacked her and handled her. And we know how the story went. Yeah. The perpetrator ran away to Tanzania. He was arrested by police. So in between that and in the hours preceding to that, that particular video went viral. So Just a Concerned Citizen started a petition on our platform, and they had various asks. Chief of it was, number one, let's regulate the Boda Boda industry. Number two, let NTSA rules be activated and implemented. And number three, let's just ensure the police and NTSA work in concert towards making the roads actually safer for everybody. And number four, to ensure that not only women, but everybody has a right to safety and security. Okay. Now, few days after that, we had the would-be president at that particular time, pronounce himself on the issue. We also had the Minister of Security, Interior, pronounce himself on the issue. And for at least 1 week, we had sanity on our roads. Now, yes, at least for at least 1 week, we had sanity on our roads before we went back to default settings. That particular petition garnered about 200,000 plus signatures. Now, for that particular petition starter, all their asks were ticked. So to them, that was a victory, and they declared it a victory. So that is one of the petitions.
But how do we attribute this to the platform?
Perfect. So now, the reason as to why we attribute this to the platform is that internally, we also have analytics that actually see exactly this is how this issue started. This is the amount of media coverage it has gotten, and this is the amount of media hits it has gotten and decision maker mentions that it has gotten. And that's exactly how we know internally, using big data and smart data, that you know what, this petition can be attributed towards that particular change.
You know, that particular petition that particular issue had coverage and conversations not only on change.org, but also on mainstream media and all these other places. So I struggle to see how we can directly say that because this petitioner came to change.org and they listed these 4 concerns, then because of coming to change.org, we saw the results. Give me one where you can say, this is change.org, this is where it happened, and what change.org, the platform or the people or the data, whatever, did to move the conversation towards the result.
So that is one. Another one that I can also attribute to that is earlier last year, in around September, we had a petition starter who began a petition of having mental education included in the curriculum for secondary and primary school kids. So they started the petition, had their asks, and had the decision makers, the Ministry of Education, included there. So earlier this year, actually the Ministry of Education incorporated. The petition starter was very, very an active citizen and had very nice articulated issues, and also had a curriculum that she had also made and presented to the Ministry of Education. That aspects or excerpts of that particular curriculum were actually lifted and put in the primary and secondary curriculum touching on mental health education. So that's another victory which we can attribute to change.org.
What's the journey from petition on the platform to the curriculum? What's the journey? What happened? What did you do?
All right, fantastic. So the first thing is that number one, the petition starter started the petition on the platform, and once it gets to a number of signatures, it meets a certain threshold in that it's of public goodwill, it's a public issue. We jump on the petition that falls in line with our vision and our mission as an organization. We reach out to the petition starter and request them that we can actually make your petition smart. We can make it more targeted, we can make it more quality. So we work in concert with the petition starter. So in this case, we made it smart, we made it targeted, we make the asks more directed towards even that particular decision maker. That's the first thing. The second thing, we actually empowered this particular decision maker in terms of media campaigning, in terms of, you know what, this is the second thing that you do. You get media campaigning by reaching out to newspapers, blogs, which are very strong these days, TV stations, radio stations, and this is how you're going to campaign and get towards your issue articulated articulated and shouting out there. The third thing, like I said, our platform has a dedicated usage of about 250,000 members. So we send out this particular petition on a blast, targeted towards specific issues. Like this one was on education and youth and minority rights. So it went to those particular tags, which I mentioned earlier, just smart data, and segmented these particular audiences. Now, these members on our platform actually saw this petition and are like, wow, yes, this is actually a good issue and an issue of concern. I mean, let's not stigmatize mental health education, and let's tackle it from that level all the way up. So sign it, and then we get the numbers, analytics, and then on our platform, we can actually see, you know what, about 150,000 people have signed this particular petition. And based on that, so this particular petition starter, going back to the question that you asked, media advocacy and enabling them, once they have this number of signatures, right, and they've done all these interviews, they present this particular petition to the decision maker. Now, for us, it's all about getting allyship. We don't have to really shout about it. All we want, and all the petition starters want, is to get that particular change effected. So like CT asked before, what is lobbying? That's where lobbying also comes in. Make an appointment, present, not even shouting or hullabaloo, present the particular petition, present the asks. You're like, bonus yes, or the decision maker, as the case may be. This is what we are requesting. They take it, they're like, you know what, this is actually achievable. We will give you definite timelines, and when we get back to you on this. Don't even have to shout about it. Give them time. And in the event that they do, that is fantastic. We declare a victory. In the event that they don't, we still ramp up the efforts towards ensuring that particular petition or that particular issue is addressed. So that exactly is the entire petition cycle. And again, in the eyes of the petition starter, if it is a victory, we declare it a victory. However, if it's just an update, we presented this particular issue to the cabinet secretary, and they have pledged to address this particular issue as per these particular timelines. They updated of the petition and inform the publics, number one, internal publics, the 250,000 members, and then the external publics, just generally members of the public, that this is where we are. So that's how we ramp up pressure and just keep the pressure moving. Yeah.
When you talk about lobbying and the effects thereof, I have to ask the question, all this work that you do, how do you make your money?
Wonderful question. So we are a for-profit organization, right? So one of the ways that we make our money is, number one, through contributions by the public. So on all our petitions, we request for support. So support is in different cadres. It can go for 300 shillings, 500 shillings, 1,100 shillings, and 2,200 shillings. That's one way. You can elect to support or not. It is still fine. We will still support your petition, and we will still give you all the advocacy support that you need. That is one way. Another way is still on the petition platform, there's a way of blasting your email and making sure that it goes viral, right? Boosting it, in other words. So there's an amount attached to that, like let's say 300 shillings, as the case may be, and it's boosted, or 100 shillings, like this will reach this amount of supporters. Now that money that is made, like I said, in a nutshell, keeps the lights on. So it ensures that the technology platform is up to date. It ensures people like Lisa, our digital associate campaigner, who is here in the next room, can do her job effectively, myself and other members of the team. That's exactly how we make our money.
Okay.
Yeah.
How then do these petitions go from, I'm making a statement, there's something that I see that I'm not happy with. I am here, I'm driving on the road with potholes, it's raining today, it's flooding everywhere, and there is, in my opinion, somebody who can do something about it, or somebody who is mandated by virtue of them being in a particular office to do something. So how does this work then? I come in and I say, well, okay, me and my colleagues are going to petition. Are we going to put it down? What's the guarantee that something then will actually be done about it? What's the difference between this and going to court and saying, you know what? You in this office are legally mandated to fix the roads. Why don't you do your job? What's the difference between the two?
Good question, Du. So number one, we work also with allies and like-minded organizations in as much as we work with individuals. So like I said, ours is a technological platform where everybody can articulate issues from left, right, and center as long as it falls within our vision and mission, and it's not about defamation, slander, hate, and so forth. So you find that we are just the wind behind the petitions, but you are the owner of that particular petition. We just provide the know-how, the wherewithal in terms of the acumen of advocacy, lobbying, media campaigns, and so forth. So your question being that, why lobby and not just take it directly to court? Now, the aspect of lobbying, advocacy, and picketing is guaranteed in our constitution. So that's one of the avenues that we are trying to explore. That, you know what, we move further by articulating our issues and ensuring they're lobbied and advocated for with decision makers, legislatures, or decision makers in companies, organizations, or in the community or in the society. So by articulating your issues, having timelines, making the asks more targeted, we ensure that, you know what, we can call you to account. We can call you to account on this particular issue. We've also had cases where petition starters start a petition on the platform and take it to court. And they don't fall within the sub judice rule that they're like, you know what, I will still take it to court, but for the sake of keeping pressure on this particular issue, I will still ensure that this petition goes and to ensure that the public is still engaged on this particular issue.
Do we find that folks then are whomever, an office or whomever is petitioned, and before that actually gets into the judicial system, that enough pressure then is applied for them to actually do something? Do you find things like that happening?
We find things like that happen, that a person would rather address the issue than it actually going the legal route. Yeah, because sometimes they're like, this legal route will cost us more. This legal route is nefarious. Sometimes it's vexatious, and sometimes it's just for political mileage. So they find that let's try addressing the issue, even if it's small victories or small steps. Let's address this particular issue or this particular asks, as the case may be.
Do you have cases or do you have businesses that you do not accept?
Yes. Numerous. Number one, cases that deal with defamation, slander, hate, minorities, that foment tribal hate. Those are flagged immediately by our team. Number one, they're also flagged by members on our platform. So on the petition, there's a place where you flag a petition, that this petition, I think it borders on hate, it borders on all this. So you flag it and our team looks at it and is like, yes, by the way, that is true, and we pull it down immediately. Yes, their petition's been quickly pulled down.
What classifies as hate? Let's say a matter that's in the public domain right now. It's a public discussion. It's even in Parliament. If Mohammed Jichopevu, the MP for Nyali, went onto change.org and said, I'd like people who support this conversation against LGBTQ to sign a petition, would you accept it?
So here's the thing. That's a wonderful question. What borders is hate? We have a raft of policies that touch on all that. But in a nutshell, any petition that tries to pit one community against another or one majority against a minority, we don't back that campaign.
Okay.
Let's give a different example, which perhaps isn't as insidious as that one. A petition about the government intervention in the North Rift and the northern parts of this country against banditry. And the order that they made for people to vacate their homes so that whatever it is that they're planning can happen. Such a petition.
Wonderful. And I like how you're being very diplomatic and moving away from the incendiary petition.
To a less incendiary
petition. Because I could see Eric smiling and looking at Ndu like we got him there. So now, here's the thing. On that particular one, so our team will do a research. Does that order actually negate the laws? If it does, then we actually cite that particular clause, that this particular order has negated the law, and as a result of this, we petition against it. Yeah, and it's not us again. It's not us again. It's the petition starter. We will just advise. It is not us. We are just the wind beneath the sails.
Okay, Lenny, you'll come again for a bigger conversation on this particular one. Lenny Rashid Ruvaga is the County Director for Change.org Kenya, talking about the impact of digital lobbying.